This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 198 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Thin Line Products and Audible.com.
This is Reese Koppler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Fergus, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show. Just with me and Reese. No producer this week. He's busy. We're doing the show. I think we've done it a couple times. I think we can manage.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We're getting better. Philip, I'm totally relaxed, everybody. It's Philip that's doing the recording, so he may be a little tense, but don't worry about it.
The technical stuff, it just gives me an extra thing to worry about. But, we've done quite a few shows now, Reese, you and I together. I think we're managing.
I'm very proud of us, because at first I was very anxious the first time we did it on our own without Glenn, but we miss Glenn, and he will be back next week. But I had a conference on our normal recording evenings, so we had to kind of change things up. So, but I always enjoy your company, Philip. How was your week?
It's been going really well, actually. We're kind of amping it up, getting ready. Our show season basically starts at end of April. That's when the weather starts to come around, and we can start to get the horses outside, prepare from competition. So now is the time to kick it into the next gear. And I've been having a lot of fun, doing that, because, we are discussing goals with our riders and thinking about the horses. Where do they fit in this year with their show schedule and what levels they should be doing. And I think that's really fun, because it's just, a lot of stuff to look forward to. And it's a preseason jitters a little bit. I think it's really fun. It's my favorite time of year, actually, because you got, everybody has high expectations, and we'll see how it goes. So,
that sounds good. Yeah, that's kind of where we are. I've had a great training week. We're not moving or packing or unpacking at this point. The horses are the Florida horses. Yeah, are settled in finally. They're back in sort of normal routine. We've had a lot of rain, like 2 inches of rain. And since I've been home, it's been yucky weather, but they're all hanging in there, and they're all rugged up, and they're doing great. And same thing, we have a lot of. It was so fun to come back from Florida, and all my riders were really excited to see me, and I came back refreshed. So definitely.
Perfect. How's the gray one doing?
The gray one is doing great. He's Super Cody is his name. He's back. Yeah, he hurt his knee on the trip to Florida, but he's doing great now. And Denali, we know, is perfect. Yeah, so he's pretty perfect. And then, Philip, I've got to brag on you. Because everybody, when I was in, when Philip came to visit in Florida, he helped me with all the horses. And of course, Denali was perfect, so I didn't need much help with him. Wink, wink. But but you helped me a lot with Winnie, my black mare, who I'm really kind of like what you were talking about. We're really sort of moving to the next level, and I really want to push for the St. George this summer. And one of the things that you said, I've been working on. So this is why friends are important, and Philip is an amazing trainer. So to have him with me was really helpful. And the thing we worked on with the mare the most is, she really needed to stay through all the time. I have had this mare for a while, and, I made everything really pleasant and nice to look at, and that was great. But to push her to that next level, I needed to get that much more throughness. And I've been doing it.
You need to keep her back up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Especially in the canter, she would hollow out a little bit, and then Reese would back off a little bit, and that's not my style, that's for sure. At a certain point, right?
Exactly.
And we talked about it, and Reese said, I've been really building her confidence and relaxation, all those things. And I said, she was there, right? I just thought, this horse is there. She's, Reese has done a really good job. I said, just, push her through. And when Reese did it, it went really well. And I thought, yeah, that was great. And Reese said, wow, I didn't, think that the horse was ready. She was a little bit backing off of her, and that was awesome to see. Anyways, it was awesome because we got immediate results with the horse, and it's nice to hear that it continues to go well, and she's not getting all wound up and nervous. Hopefully, and
it was really helpful. I've done it in the trot and in the canter, and huge. So Philip, thank you so much, and
no problem.
I can't wait. You're coming to the Derby, hopefully.
Yes, we're hopefully going to come down.
Steal his help again. So.
Perfect.
So that was my
that's enough of us. What's going on the show today? What do we got? I think it's
so
a good
one.
one.
We've got a great show. We really do. We're really trying to work on finding all the aspects of showing and being part of the team. And we have a good friend of mine, Angel Holwell. She has been a professional groom for 25 years. She's going to come on to talk to us about getting ready for show season, some of the things you can do with your horse to get ready. So she's amazing. And I think everyone will enjoy hearing from her. And then we have Devin Kane on, who is a friend of mine, but she rode in the Challenge of Americas, which is a wonderful charity event that happens in Wellington in March. And it's one of my favorite events, and I missed it this year. It's benefits breast cancer. And she's going to tell us about the international team she was on for the quadrille. So we have a great show today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Yeah. So you found some tips from Carl Hester online, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess these came up not too long ago, but he had posted 35 great tips about not just dressage, but a little bit about everything with riding. And I thought this would be a great topic, to come on a show. We did the tips for successful dressage riders. I thought that was pretty good. And these are a little bit maybe shorter tips. I don't think all of them require much discussion, but I think these are great things, and I'd like to include our listeners in on some of these things, and just things to think about, and help everyone with their riding. I think that's a great thing. So, the first one, dressage is not just for competition; it is gymnastics for horses, and all horses can benefit from it, as they are more likely to stay sound with a long, stretchy neck, soft body, and easy movement. So this is a great tip for all riders. You can do a little bit of dressage. I mean, I don't just help dressage riders. I help some hunter riders, some eventer type riders that they just wanted, a little bit of help with their dressage to make their horses a little bit better all-round athletes. So I think it's great. I think about dressage as kind of yoga, some yoga for horses that need to stretch and be better in the contact and be more confident, relaxed. I think it helps in all aspects. So that's a nice tip.
No, I love it. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I feel exactly the same way. So number 2 is when a horse is tired, he'll try to stretch down. Let him do it for a while, as it's something you want to encourage. To stretch your horse, lengthen the reins, lower your hands, and massage his mouth with the bit by gently squeezing and releasing each rein. Stretch him regularly throughout your training sessions to relax him and to reduce the risk of tension. Yeah, I think this is a great tip.
This is a good one too, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good tip. We have talked about on the show, we talked about sort of what that stretchy circle and how it is to ride. But, I typically, my favorite are hotter type horses. And like we were talking about with my black mare, I did a lot of this in the beginning and let her stretch, bring her back up so that she learns. And I do it a lot with my young ones too. So great tip. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to dressage if it's tense, right? It's not beautiful. It's not good for the horse. It's not good for the mind or the rider. So keep them relaxed. They can't work, for an hour straight, especially if you're trying to improve them. Give them breaks, right? I think this is just about having a relaxation break. So number 3, in canter, always go forward. Imagine there's a big jump at the end of the long side and you're going to take it on. I like this. This is all about just go, go, go. That's how the horse develops a big stride in the canter, a big jump, upward kind of moving. You can't do it if you're always shutting the horse down and pulling on holding and the reins. Just, release the reins a little bit and go forward. That keeps things fresh and exciting.
Love it.
Sometimes a little too exciting, maybe.
Yeah.
Be brave. Be brave. Let go and canter. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Dressage is about, this is number 4. Dressage is about repetition, repeating exercises over and over again until it becomes part of your horse's way of going. It takes dedication, but it is simply about producing a well-schooled horse, something we all like to have. Yeah, I think it is about repetition. I the only thing I would put here in my own program is you have to be careful. You don't want to repeat so much that your horse, frustrated or upset. Right. But they do learn. Horses do learn by repetition. Yeah. So it is.
There's one thing I'd like to add. I mean, this is something from Cindy Ishoy, who I train with a lot. Is she's, practice doesn't make perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. You know what I mean? So
I like it.
There's this eyes on the ground to say that's the way to do a half pass, or that's the way to have shoulder in. Practice that. So practicing away isn't helpful if it's wrong. So get as much help as you can, even if it's a friend to say, that looks right or whatever. But, eyes on the ground. We talked about that with a lot of trainers who come on and give us training tips. And I think that's really important when you're talking about repetition. So I think number 5 here is, even if your thing is dressage, mix your horse's schooling up with hacking, jumping, as it will keep him relaxed and interested.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Yep. Just do different things. Keep it interesting. Don't just plug away every day and repeat the same thing over and over again. Repetition is good, but you got to switch it up. They're horses, right? And they love to run. They love to jump. They love to do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So number 6, always compete at the level below the one you are working at home. So you're able to cope with the competition where there are many more distractions. I like this. I do like this.
Yeah, I think we try and follow that,
Yeah.
Myself, I'm a little bit of, liking to take on a challenge, when I'm, showing the horses. I like, but it is important to just take a step back, make the work easy enough at a show that it's not stressful and that you're not stressed thinking, oh, well, last day we didn't get the 4s and I really want to ride the St. George, but, everything's not perfect yet. Just take a step back, show at 4th level or 3rd level, and let your horse build confidence,
But I would also say, and here's my thing, I'm just going to add it real quickly, and that is, if you can't do it before you send the entry in, don't send your entry in. Yeah, I have a lot of students that are like, oh, I want to do 4th level test 1 or whatever level it is. Yeah. And I say, okay, well, let's ride the test before you send your money in.
Yeah.
And if you cannot ride it that day, or okay, maybe not that day, but the next day, don't send it in. Wait another few months. And I think that's really important. You were like, I really want to get my bronze medal score or whatever it is, and you forget that that's maybe not the best idea always. A challenge is good. I like a challenge, and I think there are times. For example, my mare is kind of working between St. George and we've talked a lot about her today, but St. George and 4th level. But I really want to try, if I'm going to show, to get a qualifying score. So we did this today. I rode through 4th level test 3. I wanted to see the shows in another month and a half. It's the end of April. I thought, well, let's see if she can do it. And for me, she could do the test today. So I thought, okay, I think this is a realistic goal. I'm not quite showing, obviously I'm not showing the level that I'm competing, but I'm comfortable with the test now, and I still have a month to work on it. So that's another thing.
That's pretty good. All right.
Yeah, thanks.
Number 7, mirrors are a huge help in training as they enable you to see what your horse is doing. For example, how do you know whether he is straight without being able to see him? So, again, that's, eyes on the ground can also be your own eyes if you've got mirrors. I think it's nice to try and set that up. And, you see in Florida tons of outdoor rings with mirrors on them. That's really helpful.
Yeah. So we are on number 8. Working in is one of the most important aspects of dressage. You want your horse to be long, round, and stretching before you start more taxing work to get the muscles in front of and behind the saddle soft and working. Gymnasts don't hop straight onto the top bar. Ideally, walk for 10 minutes to start with, but if your horse is fresh, it's best to trot and settle him down. So I think the working in is his way of saying we need to warm up. Exactly.
Yeah. Everybody needs to warm up and cool down. I think that's really important. Number 9, your horse must work in front of the leg. This means that he should move forward on his own accord and not expect you to keep motivating. For example, if you ask for canter, he must learn to stay in canter without any leg pressure, any at all, until you tell him otherwise. In lessons, I'm constantly working on this. This is a tough thing because you got to work on it every day. That your horse stays in front of the leg. You're not pushing every stride. You get really tired really fast, and it doesn't go well if you are the motivator every single step. So, that's a real great basic advice.
I think we all. That's just something you work on all the time. Sort of like responsiveness to the leg, responsiveness to the half halt. These are things even at Grand Prix level you're working on. Yeah. So number 10, if your horse is not responsive to your leg, ask for a halt with a loose rein. Give him a sharp, quick tap with your leg until he moves forward. It doesn't matter what pace he goes into, just let him move forward. So this is a great exercise, actually.
Yeah. That's just the most basic, if you got to implement the gas pedal, right? If you have no gas pedal, You don't have dressage, that's for sure. So it goes along with, I think at least 3 of these tips are about going forward, right? And I think that's is something that we forget about when we're trying to control some other aspects, the sideways, the bend, this or that. If your horse isn't going forward, you got nothing. So, so important.
Love it. Love it. Well, Philip, we are going to move on to the show. I can't wait for more tips next week, but we're going to move on to our first guest of the day, Angel Holwell, who is a professional groom for over 25 years, and she's going to talk about getting horses ready for a competition. Well, it is my pleasure to have my friend Angel Holwell on the program today. Angel has been a professional groom for 25 years and has been with me at some really big competitions. And Angel, you are amazing. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show. Welcome.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you for asking.
Well, you are a huge part of everybody's team. And we wanted to talk about, preparing to go to a horse show, preparing your horse, preparing all your equipment. How do you make that happen so smoothly?
Well, I would say that it's never always smoothly, but the more that you are, in a sense, a good Girl Scout or Boy Scout, being prepared does help. And just in the sense, getting yourself organized, getting the horse ready for competition is also grooming, maintenance, little details that instead of waiting at the last minute at the horse show to tend to these, that you tend to them prior to, and making sure that everything is in its best order so that when you're at a horse show, you do know where everything's at. So everything can go as smoothly as possible because it's always subject to change in our industry, as we all well know.
Angel, can you tell us a few things? We'll start from the beginning, maybe, on how do we prepare the horse before even going to the horse show? What are some things that you like to do, or some details that you like to do?
Well, I would say just simple maintenance. Everybody has a different protocol on clipping and whiskers, bridle paths, just simple things like that. Their manes being told and prepared for braiding for competition. Some things, instead of doing it the day before, it's important that you do it prior to. Just in general, making sure all their clothing, caretaking, like supplies that you need for the horse shows, simple things, bathing supplies, tack cleaning, anything that you need to use for the horse, that it's in order and accessible and you actually know where it's at. Because unfortunately, when we pack and unpack, things get, misplaced or not put back, or, we have to keep up on those things. And it's those little details that do help when we're there at the competition to hopefully make things run smoothly when it can go awry.
And chaos occurs. We all know chaos is going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't avoid that.
Your horse
it wouldn't be a horse show, right?
Yeah, without some chaos. Your horse's coats are stunning. How do you get your horse's coats to look the way they do?
Well, unfortunately, it takes a little bit of everything. I think it's also baiting, but I also think it's good grooming. It's good polishing. It's actually taking the time to be able to do that, which does take time. A good curry. After a good bath, it's also good toweling them off, certain polishes. Unfortunately, we put so many chemicals on our animals. You want to keep it simple, but also you have to tend to those little details by toweling them off, letting them air dry, because in different locations, like when we have competitions down south, down in Florida, the bacteria level is a little different. So if you don't approach things a certain way, it's amazing how little details can catch up with you, like fungus. And it's not that you're not doing your job, but if unfortunately you don't take care of those little details, it can happen overnight, and even over at a horse show. We can get fungus at a horse show because we're just not taking care of all the little details.
Now, what are some things that you do that you have learned over the years? Maybe we can get a couple of trade secrets as far as the details of the grooming that can make a difference.
Well, I think one thing that's a good thing that people forget is that, like, rinsing the horse's mouth out before putting a bridle on. If you have a good, I have one that's like a dental use, that rinsing their mouth out with just water, so it's not something always negative that's always going in their mouth. It helps keep the bit clean. And also, believe it or not, if they're really comfortable with that, even up at horse shows when we're at the show ring, believe it or not, they put a lot of sugar and a lot of products in their mouth for them to stimulate chewing and stuff. It's also good for them, just like the riders, to rinse out their mouth. You can always add another piece of sugar and stuff like that. Chapstick, we're all putting chapstick on. Same thing with the horses. They use Vaseline. They use Bag Balm on the side of their lips. I think those little details are very helpful. And certain things like Desitin and stuff like that for fungus and itch. I mean, little products, little things simple little details that helps prevent major things that can occur. So those would be the little things that I would think of: rinsing the mouth, chapstick, and just simple first aid caretaking.
No, I think that's so important. And Angel, just being in Florida, the fungus is terrible there, and I don't have
sand scratches, which is just the environment by turning them out. Their coats, horses that I hate to say chestnuts, redheads, sometimes have a little more sensitive skin. So it's not that, again, we're not taking care and doing our business. It's just that the environment is different. I think there's a different bacteria level on the ground and the water. And again, when they're pounding the pavement, the sand is hot. Even though we have great arenas, they're turned out. The white box that's clipping the horses, using the products, just like you said, you bathe them, they can get dishpan hands, so they get dry skin. So all these things, can cause that we're trying to prevent something but causing something else. You know what I mean? So it's just very important that you keep on it, because it's amazing how instantly overnight swelling, it's amazing how things can change so quickly. And it's not that you're not doing your job.
And what about maybe some favorite, some products? Like, what kind of shampoo are you using for a white horse versus, a black horse,
everybody
for example?
has their choice. And you know what? Again, I think it's also every animal is different, okay? For gray horses and the white horses, like on the everyday thing, simple things like Head and Shoulders works, but I like Orvis. And believe it or not, Ivory soap, simple Ivory dish soap for like they're washing their white legs and stuff like that. Those are different things you can alternate through. And, there are so many good products out there that I couldn't even start. I don't know where to start so that I wouldn't eliminate somebody else. But it's what is used. It's a trial and error. You know what I mean? Some products work better on other horses, depending on what kind of coat they have. If they have more of a coarse coat, if they have, if they're grays, you're constantly, bathing them. So the Head and Shoulders, or even the cleaning with, like rubbing out their side, or like, Cowboy Mattress has a great product. It's to each his own into the situation at hand. Sometimes you can't get in a bath. Sometimes those products aren't available, and it's also cost, because it is very costly. That I think, like when I mentioned the Ivory soap, it's very simple. It's something you can buy. It's cheap. It's inexpensive, and it's not as hard, I think, on their coat as some other products.
I forgot about that stuff. That's a good reminder. And Head and Shoulders, that's also a great reminder.
And people forget that also, and this is going off subject, just like Dawn dishwashing soap. If you look at the commercials and stuff like that, when they were removing the oil slicks that they would use on the animal skin to remove the stuff, is actually Dawn soap. And at shelters, we use that to get the fleas and ticks off. So when the animals down here, like with the pets, and stuff like that, some people just give their animals a bath in Dawn soap. Simple things like that.
Yeah, I like Dawn, and you can buy it at Sam's. So it's
large quantities of Dawn.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I said what products to use. I mean, there's just an endless amount of little things, but some work for others, and other products don't work on other horses. Just like you and I, what shampoos you use and I use may be totally different, but for different reasons. And I think it's important that everybody tries different things. Always keep an open mind, and what may not work for one may work better for another. And that's unfortunately a lot of times there's too many fads that everybody forgets about going back to the basics and going back to what works. You know what I mean? I don't mind trying different things, and it's a good thing to keep an open mind.
Now, I have another question. Well, it's sort of along the same lines, but do you notice, like, if you have clients that feed a certain I know a lot of people who use like flaxseed or certain products that the coats are that the coats are a little bit better on those horses.
Yes. yes, you are what you eat. What goes in comes out. Their coats are definitely different and it is affected by their intake of their feed. There's no doubt about it. When animals are also on antibiotics or if they're being treated for something, yes, it does make a difference just like ourselves. There is no doubt about that. I do believe in flaxseed. I believe that that's also something that is misunderstood about the proper soaking, cooking, what it does. And, you know what I mean? It's great for digestion. It's great for the coat. It has many purposes, but just like anything, if it's not used properly, it can also do damage. So we always have to remember things like that. And also some horses, they can't. It's not good. They can't have flaxseed, believe it or not. I mean, depending on what their diets are. Unfortunately, just like us, we're becoming like wheat-free, gluten-free. The same thing with the horses. Unfortunately, some horses can't eat what they're supposed to eat. You know what I mean?
No, I think
so.
Yeah, no, I think you always have to try.
I truly believe in flaxseed, though. Flaxseed is a wonderful product, whether you do it naturally or the oil or whatever. I think it does help 100%.
So, Angel, when we were talking about the horse show a little bit earlier, can you tell us when you get to the horse show, how do you manage the chaos, number one, but also the horses in the different environment than home?
Well, I would say one thing is trying to communicate with your group, making sure that it's a good flow on the way it should be, where the horses should be placed, how our tack room is and our feed. You know, when we get there, we know what it's like going to a horse show. Sometimes it's people's first time, but a lot of times it's not the first time we go to a rodeo, our first time at the rodeo. We know what to expect, and if we try and prepare ourselves by trying to keep things organized and communicating about keeping things flowing, making sure that one step follows the other because it catches up at the end of the day if it doesn't. Trying to make sure that the horses are first and priority as far as I'm concerned. That is our main goal. I also take care of the riders, etc. And in order to keep things flowing smoothly is by communication. What is going to work? Who's going where? When are we? And to try and keep it at that pace and that we all pitch in and work together. Sometimes things happen, always subject to change, and not trying to get flustered by that. If you're expecting it, it's really, you know what I mean? It happens. And people forget this is not the end of the world. Even when we're qualifying for the Olympics, you know, be polite to your neighbor. I will say that. You know what I mean? It's very important. I mean, seriously. Yes. I mean, people forget that, and you know what I mean. And at the end of the day, I think another thing is the day is over. What happened that day? Sometimes, you know, you just have to wash that day away and start off fresh the next one. You know, because who knows what tomorrow brings. I mean, always you always need to be prepared. I mean, nothing shocks me anymore. I hate to say that because no, it's true. I mean, you think you've seen it all, and I've dealt with polo ponies. I've done with jumpers. Majorly in the eventing, dressage, and polo. But I mean, the things that you see, you think you've seen it all, and then something happens, and you go, okay, that one's in the book.
Now I've seen it all.
Yeah, nice.
Exactly. At least you think so.
So, Angel, any tips for when you pack up from the show? I think this is a critical part that people don't think about.
Well, and I'm all about containers. I'm all about organizing your trunks and those nice, I hate to say it, Home Depot, Stanley, you want me to push a product, the Stanley trunks. Those big black on the wheel Stanley trunks that have the great trays. You can organize everything. One can be for your supplies, the other one even for vet care, which I really do believe that is very important. And there's all the checklists out there for people to look up online. If you think you know everything, and somebody will print something up and add something to that list. I mean, it's just trying your best to go over that and make sure, again, just because you had it at the last show doesn't mean it's going to be in there for the next.
Yeah, I'm a big one for just kind of throwing all my stuff in the truck and going.
Oh, Philip, I would drive me crazy.
Right, and at the end of the horse show, believe me, I'm all for just throwing everything in the trailer. But then again, that's my point is before you get back and you pack up the trailer and go, just because you threw it all in there doesn't mean you know where it's at. You got to unfortunately take the time and go through it. You know what I mean? And that's
for sure.
And that's what everybody forgets. It takes time to do those things, though. And if you're rushed and you overlook it, oh well, talk to your neighbor. You know what I mean? Or put it in there next time. It's not over. The world is not over just because you don't have that.
Yeah, one time one time I forgot to bring my boots to a show. Yeah.
Philip, you forgot your boots? How did that happen?
I forgot my boots. I don't know. I'm terrible. I'm really bad. And I put everything, where I can see it on the way out the door, and I didn't bring the boots. And then, actually, I think David Marcus lent me his for a day. I know.
That's pretty nice.
That's the whole thing is we have it. When people are like, well, I can't ride, it's like, well, did you ask somebody? Maybe if not, no big deal. And it happens.
It does. Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, so unfortunately, those things do happen. And like you said, you're focusing on everything else, and you think the big things. How could you forget your boots? People forget their jackets. They forget their top hats. They brought their tails instead of their short coat. I mean, it happens. And it's not your first time. It was probably the third day, and you just forgot them at the hotel, or before you forgot to walk out the door, you just forgot to grab them.
Well, I put my helmet on top of my car and drove away once. That was a good one, too. I got a million stories like that. I have the worst memories.
Angel, what are we going to do with this, Philip? Oh, my Lord.
I need to hire someone. That's it. That's all I can do.
You need Angel. She's amazing.
That's what people are. That's what you say. That's what I have people for.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Angel, thank you so much for coming on, and you truly are. You are amazing, and you keep everything in the horse show. I can't tell you, I have the best horse shows when Angel's with me, and she's seen me since Young Riders. So, Angel, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we would love to have you back another time.
Not a problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks to Angel. That gave us lots of tips and lots to think about in preparing our horse and grooming our horse at shows and remembering to stay calm. We're going to have an interview with Devin Kane about the Challenge of Americas after our number 2, our second segment from Thin Line about leg protection.
Hi, everybody. This is Coach Jen, host of the Horse Tip Daily Show here on the Horse Radio Network. Thanks for joining us for this second in a 4-part series on leg protection for your horse, produced in cooperation with Thin Line Global. In this series, with the expert help of Elaine Lockhead, we will cover all aspects of leg protection. Now that part 1 got us up to speed on who needs leg protection and why, let's start this second segment by delving into the types of horse boots and what they do. Good afternoon, Elaine.
Good afternoon to everybody.
And in the first installment of this 4-part series on leg protection, we talk a little bit about the why and how of leg protection, what types of horses need it and why they need it. So I guess the next logical step is to talk about the different types of boots that are made and what's available and what they do, because it can be a little overwhelming. The boot page in any given catalog is extensive. So why don't you start us down that path of what kinds of boots there are and what those boots do?
Okay. Well, let's start with the easiest one first. Let's start with bell boots.
Oh, we're starting at the bottom and working up. I like that.
Exactly. So bell boots are designed to protect the coronary band, which is right above the top of the hoof. Coronary band is where you get, it's almost like your cuticle. It's where you get all of your growth, and it's where all the blood flow is. So it's a very critical part of the horse's foot. The bell boots are primarily designed to protect the coronary band, and most of the bell boots on the market are made out of plastics because people like to buy all sorts of different colors. The problem with plastic bell boots or rubber bell boots is that it really doesn't protect against blunt trauma. And Thin Line is such a great shock absorber that it does protect against that. Additionally, rubber boots, again, get hot. And we've talked a couple of times heat retention and how heat is one of the primary causes for strains and muscle and tendon issues. So you really don't want to overheat any of the horse's body. So the Thin Line ventilates and the thin line also has antifungal agents in it because you need to keep that area very clean. If you get any kind of fungus in there, then you can be looking towards abscesses and all kinds of things that can keep you out of the saddle for a while. So bell boots also, their second function is to keep a horse from pulling a shoe off. So that's pretty critical when you're riding. You have a lot of horses who tend to overreach and step up into their front footprint, which is what we actually want them to do when we're riding. But very often they'll pull the shoe, and that can hurt the horse, or, more than that, you have to call the farrier and wait several days to ride again. So
that sucks. I don't want to do that. No.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. So those, bell boots, other than that, there are a couple of different fastening closures. Any kind of double Velcro closure is generally best so that the bell boot doesn't come undone while you're riding. That's pretty important just from a safety.
Oh, it's always fun to go through the water jumps at big events and find the bell boots floating in there.
Exactly.
Do thin line bell boots float or sink?
They float. And in fact,
awesome.
One of the things, when we talk about other leg protections, one of the best things about thin line is it does not absorb water. So you can work in wet arenas, you can cross creeks, you can go in and out of water, and no matter what the boot is, it won't absorb water. And what that means is the boot stays light.
Ah.
It doesn't shift, it doesn't rub, it doesn't change the feel of the horse's way of going. So those are all pretty important things, at least from the horse's standpoint.
Now, am I right? Because I have a lot of very old horse books in here. I have a penchant for collecting old horse books from flea markets. A bell boot is what was once referred to as an overreach boot?
Yes.
Okay.
Because originally it was designed, just for that purpose, because what happens is the hind leg overreaches into the front leg.
Got it.
And the horse will strike himself on the back of the front foot. Or he will then, catch an edge of a shoe and pull the shoe off.
Got it. Okay, so overreach boot is just an old-fashioned term for a bell boot. Got it.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, next.
Okay, so since you were talking about where things come from, historically, the most popular item to put on the leg were the leg wraps, or people call them polo wraps. They're also called track bandages. Track bandages have a lot more integrity to them, so they wrap a little bit firmer, like an ace bandage. Leg wraps have kind of begun going out of fashion, but it's not really a fashion issue. They've kind of started to disappear for two reasons. One, most importantly, if you put a leg wrap or a polo wrap or a racing bandage on incorrectly, you can actually bow them very easily. So unless you are pretty well educated about how to put one on, you can bow a tendon, and then what happens is people get afraid of putting it on too tight, and then they're out riding and the leg wrap drops down, and then that's when you discover all of a sudden that your leg wrap is down around your horse's foot, and that can be very dangerous.
Yeah, that looks like a disaster.
Yeah, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So, and then in addition to that, when you use leg wraps, you have to wash them pretty much daily because they get really dirty, and then you have to re-wrap them. So, people are busy today, and they really don't have 20 minutes just putting a wrap on a horse's leg. So the manufacturing industry has worked very hard to come up with different types of boots that are going to do the same thing a leg wrap would do, and even better, hopefully protect.
I was going to say, they probably do it better, don't they?
Or they do. They do it better than the old leg wraps used to do it. So manufacturing companies have done a lot of work and research on designing products that are going to do everything a leg wrap can do it better, and do it easier for the customer. So what they've come up with now is the primary boots that people use are a splint boot, and it's named a splint boot because its prime purpose is to just protect the splint bone. And then there are open front boots.
For our listeners out there who may be a little vague on which part of the horse's leg the splint boot or the splint bone lives in, that is the interior surface of the horse's cannon bone area.
Right. So it's behind the cannon bone and in front of the tendon.
The inside edges.
There's a little bit of when you feel your horse's leg, you'll feel the cannon bone in front, and just behind the cannon bone, there's a little indentation, and then you can feel the tendon in the back. In that little indentation is a splint bone, and that splint bone is pretty important to the horse's soundness, and it's also incredibly easy to break. And once it's broken, you're going to have, some downtime where the horse is recovering, but the horses will recover and come back sound. But then you have a cosmetic issue because it always leaves a pretty good welt or a bump there. And then once you have that, it can be very difficult to buy leg protection that fits well and doesn't aggravate it.
Oh,
so we want to try not to break the splint bone on the horses.
Yeah, or bruise it.
Or bruise it, yeah. So splint boots are made pretty much just to cover that one little area. These are generally the least expensive boots in the market. They're almost always made out of neoprene and then some type of foam padding right at the splint bone. But that's all they do is protect the splint. And again, you don't get any protection from blunt trauma. So it might help if the horse were to sort of gingerly tag the splint bone. But if you get a horse that really hits himself, a $19 set of splint boots is not going to protect you the way, a product made of a different material might. Then the next largest category of boots would be the open front boot. The open front boot is designed for horses that jump. The theory behind the open front boot is that you want the boot to have no protection at the front of the cannon bone. And this is so when horses are jumping and they take a rail down, they can feel when they hit the rail. We want the horses not to do that anymore. We want them to jump clear. So what the jumpers do is they use a boot that protects the inside of the leg, the back of the leg, the outside of the leg, and not the front of the leg. So generally, there have straps that are just elastic straps that go across the front of the leg. And then the rest of the leg is protected by a hard shell surface and then lined with some type of material. The most popular materials are neoprene, gel, and thin line. And then the last category of boots is probably the largest because it's used across multiple disciplines. These boots are called chain boots, sport boots, or galloping boots.
And these
boots wrap, the way you define what it is it wraps around the entire leg. So when you close the boot, 100% of the lower leg is covered. So the horse is protected on both sides, in the back and in the front. And in this style of boot, you can choose for the hind leg, you can have a tall sport or brushing boot. So primarily horses that are doing a lot of lateral work, like dressage horses or driving horses, will use hind boots that are very tall. The rest of the people will use an ankle boot that just protects the inside of the fetlock, along with a sport boot, or otherwise known as brushing or galloping boot, in the front, so that you have full protection in the front, and then just the ankle protection in the hind. And the people who use those typically are event riders and endurance riders. If you're doing a lot of jumping, you can't have a high hind boot. So they just check the ankle of the back leg and the whole front leg. So, and again, once again, the materials that are used inside these boots are generally neoprene, different closed-cell foams, sometimes sheepskin, and then thin line. Okay, and what is good about some of the other products, the sheepskin is it's more moldable for a horse's leg. You can put a sheepskin boot on any horse and it'll kind of fit because the fur will compress in some areas and not in others. But sheepskin is not really great on a horse's leg. If you get it in water, you can only imagine what that's going to look like in very short order. So, probably the best option, luckily we have this incredible technology where we have a amazingly impact resistant product that is very thin, doesn't absorb water, has antifungal agents, and most importantly, breathes. So you can turn horses out in these boots and they can be protected in the paddock. It'll kill the rain rot. It won't overheat any tendon. It will protect from almost all impact or trauma to the leg. But what we love at Thin Line, we're all horse riders, but we're all very busy and we work. These boots are so easy to take care of. You hose them off and you're done. You can throw them in the washing machine. You can throw them in the washing machine. And the nice thing, I hate to hang my boots out and have them have to dry for 2 or 3 days. But since the Thin Line doesn't absorb water, all you have to do, you hose them off, you're done. You can go on to the next source.
And dry a lot faster, yeah. Well, my gosh, there's such a variety available, and we haven't finished it all yet, folks. We're going to have to divide the types and functions into 2 separate segments because there are so many. But this covered a very high percentage of the ones that you're going to see on most horses in English disciplines. The ones we're going to cover on the next one also carries some boots that you frequently see on Western disciplines and some boots that you see on horses that aren't even being ridden. So stay tuned for the next installment, folks. Once again, thank you very much, Elaine, for stopping by. Tell folks where people can find Thin Line on the interweb.
thinlineglobal.com. We're a USA manufacturer. And we support our dealers. So even if you order online, that order will go to your closest tack shop. If you choose to shop online, we support the tack shops across America.
And that wraps up part 2 of our 4-part series on leg protection. Thank you once again to Elaine Lockhead for sharing your expertise. And thank you to Thin Line Global for helping us put this series together. And as a thank you to our listeners, when you order online at thinlineglobal.com, enter the promo code RADIO at checkout for special savings. Stay tuned for part 3, where we will continue talking about the different types of boots available and what their jobs are.
Do you have a company in the horse world? Are you looking to get the word out about your products, services, or shows? At the Horse Radio Network, we understand our advertisers need to reach the equestrian consumer in the most efficient, cost-effective way possible. Internet radio shows like this one, also called podcasts, allow the flexibility and creativity to craft unique messages that stand out from the herd and reinforce your existing marketing and social media strategies. If you want to learn more about advertising on this show or any of our shows on the Horse Radio Network, contact us at Glenn with 2 N's at horseradionetwork.com, or you can call us at 859-951-2022. Our listeners are terrific, engaged, and avid horse people, the ones that you are looking for.
Well, I am very happy to have Devin Kane on the show today. Devin, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, Devin and I have worked on a couple charities together. We worked a few years ago on the Vince Ramos charity. And Devin, you are such an advocate for that. And this time I have you on the show to talk about the Challenge of Americas. Can you tell us a little bit about the event and what your role was?
This year in the event, usually they always try to have different riders from different disciplines volunteer to do kind of a fun exhibition for everyone for the challenge, and it's all for raising money for breast cancer research. And this year they tied in the Place for Pink Foundation also, so that was pretty fun. So this year they had some rainers come in and do some raining exhibitions with music. They had a couple of pas de deux, which is 2 riders doing a dressage freestyle test together in the arena at the same time. And then I was part of one of the quadrille teams. There were 2 quadrille teams this year. So we had 6 riders in the arena doing freestyles, and our freestyles were all Grand Prix freestyles. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work putting everything together and getting all the choreography and the practices and all the timing right. But it's a wonderful event and one of my favorites because it's so much fun. It's really exciting to watch. The crowd gets really into it and is always cheering and clapping and super fun, which is a little bit more than you get at the usual dressage freestyles. And then they also, it's a challenge, they also always throw in another discipline. So this year it was raining. Before they've had, polo players and done arena polo. They've had jumping competitions, just all different kinds of stuff. So it's a great taste and always a good night and a wonderful cause, obviously.
Well, that sounds really fun. Can you tell us a little bit about your team, who was on it, and how did you guys find time to get 6 riders together to practice a freestyle?
I was on the international team, so we had a bunch of different riders. Pretty much, we just had to say, okay, we're going to do it, on these days, and everybody had to make themselves available. I know a lot of times, a lot of different riders were running in right as practice was starting and getting the horses packed up and getting on, and then splitting out of there to make it to their next, back to the show or their next lesson or back to the barn to finish riding. I know myself, we did that a bunch of times. But, I mean, it's such an important cause, and I think especially with breast cancer, it's touched everyone personally. There's not a single person out there that doesn't have a really close personal story of how breast cancer actually touched them. So I think even with the riders, you make time. This is an important charity. It's a very important fundraiser. The money is going to one of the best causes down here. So, I mean, I know for me, like it was an important. I have my own personal ties. I have some family that has definitely been affected by breast cancer. So it was important just to make it happen, make the time and dedicate myself and commit to doing it. So it was great fun, though. My whole team was just really enthusiastic and into it. I was on the international team, and our riders were Sherry Reber, Susanna Hamilton, Sharon Mesker, Todd Flatrich, Nancy Later, and myself. And it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. Everybody, practices were serious. We got our job done. We talked about all the technical stuff, but everybody was always really happy and having a good time and helping each other out. And, if anybody ever got lost, it was really easy to practice with those people. There was, an amount of seriousness that we all understood that we were taking this serious, but at the same time we were having fun with it while we were there. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
I wouldn't have minded to have been a fly on the wall there. That must have been pretty fun to watch you guys. But tell us a little bit about your program. What was your music like? What was your choreography like?
Ruth Hogan-Wilson did our choreography, and it was amazing. I actually kind of got thrown into it at the end. Team International had a rider drop out with about 2.5 weeks before the performance. So I got a phone call from Crystal Ann Chamber, and she was asking, she was like, do you know anybody that can ride? We were scrambling to find somebody to fill the spot. I'm like, okay, I think I can do it. And she was like, are you sure at first I wasn't sure I had a horse. And then I'm like, you know what? I do have a horse I can use for this. You can make that happen. So I kind of jumped in at the last few minutes. So I was lucky enough that, they had already done the music editing, found the music, gotten a lot of the choreography done. My job was pretty easy. I had to show up, learn it, and then be there for the performance. So it was a good experience for sure.
Well, tell us a little bit about the horse that you did end up riding in the quadrille.
He is actually my Brentina Cup horse that I rode a few years ago for a while and showed and campaigned him. I did my first Grand Prix with him, the whole Grand Prix thing, the whole tour and everything with him. It was pretty special to me. I retired him from showing a couple of years ago. He's not so much a loner. He really likes to be with the other horses. So he always was a star in the warm-up, and then when I got him to the test, he was so nervous by himself. So when I was thinking about it, I'm like, this is the perfect situation for this horse, and he absolutely loved it. He was a star. He really couldn't have done a much better job than what he did. He loved having the other horses around him. At parts where some of the horses got nervous because we had to get really close to each other, he was all about that. He thought we could get as close as we wanted, and he would be even more happy. So he was really cool, and he did a great job. I mean, he pulled off. I don't usually ride the horse. I've actually, like I said, I retired him from showing, so I teach on him a lot, and I have some students that ride him, and I don't ride him on a consistent basis. So I was like, okay, I guess I get to ride you for a few weeks getting ready for this. And he was such a trooper. He was really happy and excited, and he kept a really positive attitude about it, and I think he really had fun. As we were going around the outside of the beginning, he got a little bit nervous and started to run. But then as soon as the music clicked on, he totally settled down and kind of knew his job and went right to work. So he really liked it. I think he liked the showing off and putting on a little bit of a show. He was quite a star. Everybody really was. I mean, all of the horses, I can't say that any of them didn't enjoy it. I think they all really had a good time. None of them were naughty or being obnoxious or anything. They were all doing their job and kind of just playing around together. We had a good time.
So what was your music? What did you guys decide to do?
Our music, let's see, we used the Titanium song. There was a couple Bruno Mars in it, and what was the other one? It was a mix of basically like a couple of different pop hits and stuff like that, the radio stuff that's on now, which made it really super fun because everybody was getting into it and clapping and cheering. Ruth did an amazing job with our choreography. I had so many people come up and compliment us on our choreography afterwards, and it was easy to memorize. The pattern really flowed well, but it had a nice level of difficulty to where you weren't just, riding around. You're actually kind of thinking about having to actually ride the horse and ride the movements as well. So it was a lot of fun.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about the other team and what they did. Did you get a chance to see them at all?
I didn't really get a chance to see them because they were after us. But I know that they did like a 50s kind of rock. I know the boys were all wearing leather jackets, which I heard a couple of them saying it probably wasn't a good idea on a Saturday night in Florida.
A little warm for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were a little bit sweaty afterwards, I think. But the boys had on leather jackets. The girls had on these poodle skirts and neckties and everything, and they were all done up. So it looked totally cute. I bet I didn't get to see it because we had to ride first, and then we were back in the warm-up ring walking around with our horses afterwards. But the music was really cute, and I heard everybody cheering. They said they did a great job.
And what was the most difficult part about being in the quadrille and practicing it? What made it difficult for you?
I would say it's a little bit tricky because it's nothing like riding like we usually ride. It's really not about the training and the correctness of the movements and your tempos and, everything that we think about when we're riding as trainers and even just riding the test or schooling the horses, that doesn't really come into play. So you kind of got to throw that out the window and then be okay with that. So it's a little bit different thinking like, okay, this is not at all the tempo or how my horse should passage, but the passage matches the others and we're all staying in line. So that's what's most important. So it's a little bit tricky trying to figure and just being okay in your head with that, the difference of, this isn't how I usually ride him, but this is how I'm going to ride him for this, because the most important thing is to stay with your team and be cohesive as a team and really have everything together and making sure that your lines are correct and you're moving on the right tempos together. So that's, I would have to say, was the most difficult thing for me. But once I kind of got over it doesn't have to be 100% correct. I'm not riding the pirouette for a 9 or a 10. I'm riding it to make sure that I'm equal with all of the rest of my teammates. Once you get over that and then move on, then it's pretty fun and easy.
Well, that's great. It sounded like a fabulous night. And Devin, if we want to find some more information, first I'd love to hear, how do you find out more information about the Challenge of Americas?
I know the Challenge of Americas, they have a Facebook page. So you can look them up on Facebook, and I think all of their information for their other websites and links. And Mary Ross is our organizer. She puts the challenge together every year. Her information's on there too. So, and also there's video from the winning quadrille from our team, and there's some clips from all the other stuff on there too. So if you go onto their Challenge of America's page on Facebook, they have all of that for you to watch and find and go through. It's pretty fun.
Oh, how fun. And Devin, how do we find you online?
My website is diamantefarm.com. And also you can email me anytime at devkane, DEVKANE @mac.com. So yeah, check out the website. We have pictures of riding. We also have a Facebook page, Diamante Farms on Facebook. I try to upload pictures of the ponies and stuff that's going on, little clips of riding and stuff all the time. So there's always usually something new going on up there also for everybody to check out and enjoy.
Great. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Hi all, Glenn the Geek here, and we're excited to bring you a special offer for Horse Radio Network listeners from one of my favorite companies, and that is Audible.com. Audible.com is the premier provider of digital audiobooks. Audible has over 85,000 titles to choose from in every genre: thrillers, business, romance, comedy, sci-fi, sports, and so much more. Audible titles play on your iPhone, your Kindle, your Android, or more than 500 different devices that you can listen anytime, anywhere. My wife and I love Audible books. We've been a member of Audible since 2004 and have listened to over 100 books with Audible. What horse person, who has time as a horse person to sit down and to read a book anymore? Yet I found the time to listen to books on Audible. When I'm not listening to podcasts while I'm riding, cleaning stalls, or at the gym or driving, I'm listening to Audible books. And for the listeners of the Horse Radio Network, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 14-day trial to give you a chance to check out their service. All you have to do is go to audibletrial.com/HRN. That's audibletrial.com/HRN for Horse Radio Network. And you can download your free audiobook and get your 14-day free trial today. If you can't remember that, just check out our website and you'll find a link to it right there. Enjoy your book. We know you will.
Well, Philip, I'm telling you that Challenge of Americas is one of the best events to go to in Florida. It's the best charity. It's for a wonderful cause, but it is a lot of fun, and you get to see some great riding. So that was fun to hear Devin's experience for the first time riding in the Challenge of Americas.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, I've heard about it before, and everybody said it's a great time. Not as stuffy as a regular dressage show. They mix it up, I guess, with different riders and the quadrille. I think I'd like to see more quadrilles. I think maybe it could be in the Olympic format. What would you think about America versus, England, but in a quadrille format? I think that would be way better.
I think you're onto something.
You award the gold medal to the best overall team, right? Or the best overall. I think it's, all kind of freestyle. I mean, that's where our sport is going, right? Towards the freestyle and the entertainment part, not the stuffy technical tests,
Yeah, I like it. I like it, Philip. I think we need to get you in touch with the FEI because I think that's a great. No, it's fun to watch, and just call up the FEI and let them know your
ideas.
I like it. No, I think it's a great idea, and it's a lot of fun. And I think actually we were teasing today, two of my students that were riding similar colored horses. They said we should do, a pas de deux, and I said, yeah, let's do it. So, I said, you guys do it, and I will.
Yeah, you
help.
guys do it. You guys do it.
Because they take a lot of time.
I know,
we've talked about freestyles.
Really thing. Yeah,
they take a lot of time, but great fun, and actually something fun to do at your barn or in the winter, or even in an evening to do a practice and get it together. I think you're onto something. I like it, Philip. Very good.
And a great charity event, to get people out and supporting the breast cancer foundations and all of that, like Devin said. So, yeah, fun ideas about dressage, right?
Love it. Well, Philip, I hope you had a great day and I enjoyed the show, but you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website at dressageradio.com. You can like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me at philipparksequestrian.com and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this show possible, Thin Line Products and Audible.com. And don't forget to check out all the other great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we'll talk to you next week.